What do I do? I need my college football fix. This is driving me insane. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and yes, I am Golden Blue Dude. Well, I'm the face and the voice of Golden Blue Dude, but each and every one of you that watches Golden Blue Dude, subscribes, likes, shares, all that good stuff, you are Golden Blue Dude, and we have reached 5,000 subscribers, but we have a higher goal of 10,000 subscribers, and I think we can do it, but we can't do it without you, so please hit the like and subscribe button. Quick reminder about my Patreon page. We've kind of amped it up, made it a little more broad, so you can choose how much of Golden Blue Dude you can handle. We have the lowest level. It starts off at $2, the bench warmer, and it goes all the way up to the Heisman winner, and that's in case you want the total Gold and Blue Dude experience. That's $50 a month. So go check out my Patreon page and see which one you would like the best. On top of that, anybody that joins the starter, and that's $10 a month, you get to pick out any game once a week. Not once a month, once a week. You pick the winner, and if you win, I have to do a dare. Has to be YouTube friendly and sports related that I'll do on a video. So a little extra perk for those of you who choose to do the $10 starter or higher up. Anyways, on to today's video. And I don't know about y'all, but I love college football. And I know this is the beginning of the off season, but it is never too early to talk about the next season. So today I wanted to talk about who has the toughest schedule in the Big 12. I'm ranking them all the way from number 10, the easiest, to number 1, the toughest schedule in the Big 12. Of course, I looked at who they played at, home games, road games, wins and loss records from the teams that they played, all that stuff, and that's how I came up with my rankings. So here we go. Starting at number 10, the easiest schedule in the Big 12 in 2022. I think it's Oklahoma. Now this year, Oklahoma finished 11-2. They do have one neutral road game. Of course, that's Texas in Dallas. Texas went 5-7 this past year. I don't see them getting that much better. They might flip their record and go 7-5, but really that neutral game, not that tough of a game. But it is a rivalry game. Anything can happen. Now, for the home games for Oklahoma, they get UTEP out of Conference USA, who went 7-6. They get Kent State out of the MAC, who went 7-7. Kansas State 8-5, Kansas 2-10, Baylor 12-2, and Oklahoma State 12-2. So their two toughest games they actually get at home, Baylor and Oklahoma State. Now their road games. Oklahoma has 5 road games, but they're not all that tough. They get Nebraska on the road. Yes, that could be tricky. Nebraska went 3-9. I do think they'll be better. They get TCU 5-7, not going to be much better. Iowa State could be tricky, maybe. Ames is tough, 7-6. West Virginia on the road. Well, Oklahoma's owned West Virginia, so I really don't see them having a problem with West Virginia. I'm a West Virginia fan, and we went 6-7. And then, of course, Texas Tech 7-6. They really haven't had any troubles with Texas Tech. So that's why I think Oklahoma has the easiest schedule in the Big 12. Number 9, the second easiest schedule in the Big 12 in 2022. TCU. They went 5-7 this year. Gary Patterson, their long time head coach, is gone. That surprised me, but it's true. First, their home games. They play this FCS team called Tarleton. I've never heard of that team. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. And it's tough to find a team that I don't know about. But I have no idea who this team is. I've never heard of them. They get Oklahoma at home, 11-2 last year. Oklahoma State, they went 12-2 last year. Kansas State 8-5. Texas Tech 7-6. And Iowa State 7-6. So really, most of their tough games are at home. Now their road games. They get Colorado on the road. Colorado went 4-8, but that's tricky. A little bit of travel. SMU on the road. They went 8-4 in the AAC. Kansas 2-10. West Virginia may be tricky. That's a pretty good rivalry in the Big 12 actually. TCU and West Virginia. West Virginia went 6-7. They get Texas on the road 5-7. And then their toughest road game, Baylor, 12-2. But for the most part, TCU gets their tough games at home. Number 8 on this list, Iowa State. They went 7-6 last year. Their home games. They get Southeast Missouri. That's their FCS opponent. They get Ohio at home. They went 3-9. Baylor at home, 12-2. Kansas State, 8-5. Oklahoma, 11-2. West Virginia, 6-7. And Texas Tech, 7-6. So Iowa State gets the majority of their tough games at home. Now, they do have some tricky road games. They get Iowa on the road. Iowa's a good team. That's a good rivalry. Iowa went 10-4. They get Kansas on the road, 2-10. Texas on the road, 5-7. Oklahoma State on the road, 12-2. That's what bumped them a little higher than the teams under them. And then TCU on the road, 5-7. So not really all that difficult of a road schedule. Number 7 on this list, Texas Tech. Texas Tech went 7-6. Their home games include the FCS Murray State, Houston. That's a good game. I like that. But it is at Texas Tech. They get Texas at home, 5-7. West Virginia at home, 6-7. Baylor, 12-2. Kansas, 2-10. And Oklahoma, 11-2. So the combination of Houston, Oklahoma, and Baylor, their toughest games at home. Road games. They do have a couple of tough road games. NC State on the road, 9-3. Kansas State, 8-5. Oklahoma State, 12-2. TCU, 5-7. And Iowa State, Ames, Iowa, tough to play at, 7-6. So that's why Texas Tech is a little higher. Their road schedule is a little bit tougher. Number 6 on this list, and this rounds out the bottom half, the weakest schedules, and that's going to be Oklahoma State. Here's their home games. They get Central Michigan at home, and Central Michigan, a decent team, 9-4, but it's a MAC team. Arizona State, 8-5. That's going to be a good game right there. And then they get Arkansas Pine Bluff. That's their FCS opponent. Texas Tech at home, who went 7-6. Texas at home, who went 5-7. Iowa State at home, who went 7-6. And then West Virginia at home, who went 6-7. There are 2 pretty tough road trips, and this is what bumped their schedule higher on the list. Baylor on the road, 12-2. TCU, 5-7. Kansas State, 8-5. Kansas, 2-10. And then Oklahoma, who went 11-2. So that Baylor road trip and that Oklahoma road trip bumped them up to number 6. All right, now let's get to the toughest schedules. Coming in at number 5, and that's going to be Texas. They went 5-7. Now they get that neutral game against Oklahoma, but the good news is that's not a true road game. It's split right down the middle, so the fanfare is split evenly. Now for their home games, they get UL Monroe at home, 4-8. Alabama at home, 13-2. That's another reason why I bumped Texas up higher. They do play Alabama, but it's at home. UTSA at home. They're a pretty good team too. They went 12-2. They get West Virginia at home, 6-7. Iowa State, so they don't have to go to Ames. Iowa State went 7-6. TCU 5-7, and Baylor, who went 12-2 last year. So the majority of their tough games are at home. But you throw in that neutral game against Oklahoma and one of those home games against Alabama. Yeah, they're one of the tougher schedules. And the road slate. Let's not forget about that. Texas Tech on the road, 7-6. Oklahoma State on the road, 12-2. That's a tough one. Kansas State, 8-5. And then lowly Kansas, 2-10. So their road slate, not all that difficult, but they scheduled heavy, and they get Alabama even though it's at home. And then the neutral game against Oklahoma. Rivalry game, things get crazy sometimes. Number 4 on this list, the 4th toughest schedule. That belongs to Kansas State. They finished season 8-5. Here are their home games. FCS South Dakota, Missouri, who went 6-7, Tulane, who went 2-10, Texas Tech, who went 7-6. They do get Oklahoma State at home, 12-2, Texas at home, 5-7, and Kansas at home, 2-10. Notice most of their home games are easier teams, except for the Oklahoma State team. Now, their road slate. This is a difficult one. They get Oklahoma on the road. Oklahoma went 11-2. Iowa State, Ames, Iowa, tough to play at. They went 7-6. TCU, 5-7. Baylor, that's going to be a tough one, 12-2. And then, of course, West Virginia, 6-7. That could be tricky as well. Number 3 on this list, the 3rd toughest schedule in the Big 12 for 2022. That's going to be my team, West Virginia. We went 6-7 last year. Now, for the home slate, we have Kansas, 2-10. Towson, our FCS. Baylor, 12-2. TCU went 5-7. Oklahoma 11-2, and Kansas State 8-5. So we get a few of our tough opponents at home. It's the out-of-conference coupled in with our road trips that bump West Virginia up. We have to go on the road to Pitt, the backyard brawl. And Pitt went 11-3. They got Keaton Slovis. I expect that to be a good game. Another rivalry game on the road, Virginia Tech. They did go 6-7 last year, not that great, but it's tough to win in Blacksburg. Then we get another rival, Texas, who's 5-7 last year. Texas Tech. We've had issues with Texas Tech. Texas Tech went 7-6. Iowa State, we have to go to Ames, Iowa. Iowa State went 7-6 last year. And then, of course, Oklahoma State. That's a tough one, too. Oklahoma State went 12-2. So our out-of-conference coupled with our road trips, that's why I have West Virginia at number 3. Coming in at number 2, the second toughest schedule in the Big 12. And this is with not knowing one of their out-of-conference games. So we're actually one game short, and I still have them at number 2. And that's Baylor. Baylor had a magical season. They went 12-2. Here are their home games. They get Texas State out of the Sun Belt, who went 4-8. They do get Oklahoma State at home, a revenge matchup. Both those teams went 12-2 last year. They get lowly Kansas at home, who went 2-10. Kansas State at home, 8-5, and TCU, who went 5-7. Check out this road slate. It is absolutely brutal. And this is still without one of their out-of-conference games. I don't know what that game's going to be. So this schedule is actually one game short right now. Road games, BYU. BYU went 10-3. That's a tough place to play. They get Iowa State on the road. That's also a tough place to play. Iowa State went 7-6, but Ames, Iowa is brutal sometimes. They have to go on the road to West Virginia. Baylor's not had a lot of success in Morgantown. Some success, but not tremendous. West Virginia had a down year, 6-7. Texas Tech on the road, 7-6. Oklahoma on the road, 11-2. That's going to be brutal. And then finishing out the road slate at Texas. So that road slate is a bit brutal. So even not knowing what that last out-of-conference game is, I have Baylor at number 2. And that brings us to the number 1 toughest schedule in the Big 12. And that's going to be Kansas. And part of the reason for this is because Kansas doesn't get to play itself. And Kansas is the worst team in the Big 12. So they don't even get to play the worst team in the Big 12. So that automatically puts them behind the 8 ball. So let's take a look at their home games. They get Tennessee Tech at home, their FCS opponent. They get Duke at home, 3-9, the pillow fight. Iowa State, they get them at home. Iowa State went 7-6. They do get TCU at home, 5-7. Oklahoma State at home, 12-2. And Texas at home, 5-7. But check out the road slate. This is a brutal road slate. They have to go on the road to West Virginia, 6-7. But Morgantown is tough. Ask anybody except Oklahoma. Oklahoma will say it's not. Everybody else, it's tough. Houston on the road. Houston went 12-2. I expect them to be a great team as well. Oklahoma on the road, 11-2. They scared Oklahoma, but this year they have to go to Norman. They have to go to Baylor on the road. Baylor went 12-2. One of the best teams, if not the best team in the Big 12. They have to go to Texas Tech. That's tricky. And Kansas State. So the vast majority of their tough schedule is on the road. And that's why I have Kansas as the number 1 toughest schedule in the Big 12 in 2022. Y'all let me know what you think about the rankings. Where would you have these schedule ranked in your opinion? Where did I get it wrong? Where did I get it right? Let me know in the comments section. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next show.